Is Melanoma and Skin Cancer Awareness Month, a time to remember to take care of your skin.
And as we approach those hot summer days here in Siouxland, a dermatologist talks about the importance of prevention and keeping yourself skin cancer free.
If you have had a lot of sun exposure over your lifetime, if you've had a lot of sunburns, if you have lots of moles on your skin, you're probably a person that should be seen more regularly in the office.
But what about those amazing summer days ahead where you just want to be out in the sun? With more than 20 years experience, Dr. Alexander Sekulich is a dermatologist and medical director of City of Hope Cancer Center, focusing on the more advanced skin cancers. He says dermatologists are often looked at as summer Scrooges.
But we're not. We would not tell people, don't go out, lock yourself in the room. That's no fun. But I think one just needs to be really cognizant of the risk, and one needs to be wise about how they spend time outdoors.
Dr. Sekulich offers these tips: stay in the shade, wear long sleeves if possible, use sunscreen, and reapply every hour and a half while outside.
Getting skin cancer is not just a random chance. Skin cancers are by far the most preventable cancers.
Sun protection, he says, is critical. Sun exposure is the main risk factor.
And the lighter the skin, the more sun exposure, the higher the risk for skin cancers, including melanoma.
The majority of skin cancers are caught early and are removed with a simple procedure. Dr. Sekulich says that applies to what is called a non-melanoma skin cancer.
Most melanomas these days are diagnosed very early and cured. But those that do not get diagnosed early, those that present later at a later stage, can be problematic and can be life-threatening.
So it's important to give yourself at-home checks. And if you see something on your skin that doesn't look right or maybe is changing, schedule an appointment with a health professional.
It's very reasonable for everybody to check their own skin, say, once a month. There is no substitute for being familiar with your own skin and knowing what's there, what's been there before versus what is new or what is changing. And that really, detection of new or changing spots is really critical.
And 2 annual skin checks with your dermatologist are highly recommended.